Recently, Palindrome came back into the loot pool with some double loot nightfalls and everyone was farming for it. I had some pretty good ones already, but I went back in to farm for some as well. And I got some good upgrades. I was mainly looking for an upgrade on my high impact reserve roll. And I'm sure many people are thinking, high impact reserves, really? That over Rangefinder? And well, let's get that out of the way. I get it. Rangefinder is amazing. The max range palindrome is crazy. I actually have a max range palindrome. The 91 range with Rangefinder really doesn't mess around. It is really strong, no doubt, and it gives you a lot of versatility. You don't have to worry about your damage. In most cases, if you see someone, you can shoot them and probably deal some pretty high damage and maintain a good 3-tap range. I fully understand all the benefits of a max range adept palindrome. However, it's not the role that I'm really gravitating towards. While Rangefinder is valuable, again, I think that high impact reserves gives you, in most scenarios, more uptime and comes up more often than Rangefinder actually does. And well, we'll talk about the effects of high impact reserves in just a moment and what I mean by that. I landed on 2 high impact reserve rolls that I really liked. This one that I'm showing is the one that I preferred. This one has Killing Wind and high impact reserves. I really love this combo. Light mag, arrowhead break, and a range masterwork, and personally I put on adept range on it, although you could also put on adept Icarus. But with adept range, it has, I believe, 78 range, which isn't too bad. This isn't a perfect roll by any means. I'd probably prefer extended barrel to arrowhead break, and ricochet rounds probably to light mag, but Killing Wind and high impact reserves is really good in my opinion, and the combo that I was mainly going for. So I think high impact reserves is incredibly strong on the adaptive hand cannons because it allows you to get a 2-head 1-body kill with only 1 bullet being affected by high impact reserves. So with a 10-round magazine, that means high impact reserves starts being relevant at 5 bullets. This is when it starts the damage ramp up, and it gets gradually higher as you empty the mag and get closer to having no bullets left. However, with the palindrome, and I assume if any other 140 RPM hand cannons were to get this perk, you can start getting 2-head 1 bodies at 7 bullets. Reason being is because it takes 3 bullets obviously to kill a target in 2-head 1 body for the 3-tap, and the last bullet will be affected. It'll be the 5th bullet. It'll be affected by high impact reserves, which means from my testing up until 5 resilience, you're able to 2-head 1 body targets, again only at 7 bullets in the magazine, which is not out of the question. That is still plenty of bullets to work with, and it doesn't exactly take a long time to get to 7 bullets. I'm not sure if I'd go around emptying my mag per se and trying to play only at 7 bullets to start, but naturally just putting damage in, if you don't habitually reload, you're gonna be able to 2-head 1 body targets pretty regularly, I'd say. I think the community has this opinion on high impact reserves of it being a bad perk because you have to play at the lower half of the magazine and you're not getting a full bonus towards the end of it. And on many weapons, you're really not getting a massive impact, no pun intended, out of high impact reserves until the last few bullets. And who wants to be playing that dangerously at that low area in the mag and risk having to reload in some awkward scenarios, right? But I really think that's where the palindrome and I guess adaptive hand cannons with this perk really breaks the mold. It's immediately making a difference for them, and you don't have to play so low in the magazine. Not to mention that there's been so many requests I see so often in chats that people think that adaptive hand cannons should 2-head 1 body, and this is legitimately here an avenue to allowing you to 2-head 1 body. A lot of people even mentioned that 120 RPM hand cannons were so strong not only because of the range, but the ability that they had to 2-head 1 body and have more leniency on their optimal time to kill. Now, if you want that so badly, it's actually available in some way, and I think it's a way, again, that's relatively practical. So if you're curious of the specific numbers, the Palindrome starts hitting 70 damage, of course, normally as other adaptive hand cannons do, but with high impact reserves active, it gets 72 damage on the 5th and 4th bullet, 73 damage on the 3rd bullet, and 74 damage on the last 2 bullets. Now, when the damage is the same, it's still ramping up. I'm assuming this is just the game not showing us the decimal points, so it's just rounding numbers, but it is getting higher for each and every shot. So essentially, this means that if you're starting at 7 bullets, again, you're going to be able to 2 crit 1 body guardians that are lower than 5 resilience, which is sure to be relevant right now because the best resilience value is 2 or 6, and most players are opting for 2, and I, again, really wouldn't recommend high resilience in the current metagame. If you start shooting at 5 bullets though, where high impact reserves actually kicks in, you'll be able to, so long as you're ending in a headshot, get a 2 crit 1 body against 5 resilience. And if you're starting a gunfight with 4 bullets, you'll be able to get a 2 crit 1 body against 6 resilience in any order of headshots. Another small added benefit of high impact reserves is because it's a damage boost, that means it's also impacting your range potential and is going to slightly improve your 3-tap range. In the best case scenario, with the bottom 3 bullets in the mag with high impact reserves on an 80 range adept palindrome, we were able to get a 3 crit kill at just a hair off of 36 meters, which is pretty good. So in a more average scenario that isn't the best case, you're probably going to get about 35.5 meters on your 3-tap distance. But again, let's address the elephant in the room here, which is going to be, why would you use this over Rangefinder? I've said I prefer it and have showed the functionality of it, but how much of a difference is Rangefinder really making? When I'm trying to decide between perks that I really like, I'm thinking to myself, what is getting the most uptime? What am I gonna see most? What is gonna come up the most? And as a result, what's gonna be making the difference the most in my gunfights and in my play? Most people that I've talked to would say that this high impact reserves roll is not good. It's not good compared to Rangefinder. Rangefinder is just blatantly better, and this role is just kind of a meme. It's niche, it's not good enough, and I just so much so disagree. But let's look at the difference again with an absolute max range Rangefinder palindrome compared to this weapon's potential and their 3-tap range. My max range palindrome with Rangefinder gets a 3-tap range of 39 meters. Compare that to the best case scenario of our high impact reserves roll, that's only a 3 meter difference at 36 meters. Now, if we don't look at the best case scenario, and let's say it's 35.5, that's still only a 3.5 meter difference. And you have to ask yourself, how much of a difference is that 3.5 meters making? Sure, it can make the difference in you 3-tapping someone and you being able to put in a slightly better damage in some scenarios, but the way I thought about this to myself was I actually went in game and looked at what 39 meters really looks like in practice. So here it is on screen, and I asked myself, am I really getting into engagements at this distance frequently enough? I actually don't think the majority of maps have sightlines like this that you would be fighting with a hand cannon, and I don't think the majority of scenarios where you're fighting with a hand cannon are at this range. And the fact of the matter is, if you're not at this range, that means Rangefinder is actually not really doing much for you other than giving you a little extra bit of zoom, which I think is unnecessary if it's not going to be helping your potential versatility and 3-tap range. I think it also depends on the map. Obviously, some maps have longer range engagements, and maybe you'd want Rangefinder for that. But we have to stop and ask ourselves, when we're potentially overvaluing range, when is it actually coming up and making a difference? And for me, I think in most scenarios on most maps like Javelin per se, high impact reserves and killing wind to supplement my range is far good enough and more consistent for the majority of scenarios, and high impact reserves will probably make more of a difference on average and have more uptime. So this isn't to say that one role is better than the other, it's just some food for thought and thinking openly to what could really be making it more of a difference in your gameplay with different perks you have, and high impact reserves is far from a bad perk on Palindrome. I think it's at its best on this weapon so far. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you'd like to check me out on Twitch, where I'm live very frequently and often, probably more than YouTube, twitch.tv/Drewskys is where you can find me. Hope to see you there. Otherwise, take it easy.